listening to America First Radio. Here is your host, Paul Adams.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us at America First Radio. This is Paul Adams, and I have a doozy of a cold. You'll excuse me, it's 1:30 in the morning. I can't go to sleep. And I figured I better be useful and put this together. Tomorrow is President's Day. This is a special broadcast. Special in a sense that I did not intend to talk about the topic at all. I'll explain that in a minute. First of all, I loved listening to President Trump at the Florida rally. He has never looked more youthful, happier, more blessed in the whole campaign. He even looks radiant, lambent. And I also loved that press conference the other day. Oh boy, did he ever give a dressing down. And yeah, they have to know, these reporters have to know that they are a disgrace to their profession. And as for the cameras in the rally that would not pan around and show the crowds, we've seen that happen before many times during the primaries, during the general election. I think it's a very simple solution. He should just have his own crew there. Set up cameras right around the venue and then just edit. Or have somebody, direct the show. So, we the people have a right to see what's going on. We need to see the impact he's having. Who is there? And if the mainstream media won't do it, then just do it himself. And then gradually, Americans would learn to gravitate to that White House feed. It's an easy, simple, efficient solution in my thinking. So today, it's going to be a very unusual podcast. Way off the beaten track. After each podcast, I have no clue of what I'm going to talk about the next week. My mind goes blank, and I wait for ideas, for inspiration, and some ideas are good, some I have to wrestle with. And then I have to put up some news in my website too, which is trump-x-press.com. So it's becoming a challenge to try and figure out what is relevant, what is not relevant, what will have the greatest impact. And I'm learning. I've always felt like the things I thought I could never do, I end up doing best with God's help. But when some idea creeps into my head, just keeps pushing its way through, day in, day out, I need to follow up. I've learned to recognize that prompting. And this is one of those cases where I have to follow up on the prompting and talk about the topic I'm going to talk about. I'll give you an example of what happened. I think we've all had those situations where, we're prompted to do something and we don't. One day, I was walking down the street and I saw a homeless woman with a shopping buggy. It was loaded full of stuff, and she was waiting, sitting down at the bus stop, waiting for the bus. And something inside of me just told me, like a flash of inspiration, go help her get on the bus. My logical mind said, what bus? There is no bus. And besides, she can do it on her own. So I walked past the woman, and after I got maybe 100 yards away, I could hear her back there. The bus had arrived. It had pulled over. She was the only one getting on. And the bus driver would not get off his seat to help her with the buggy. And I could hear her talking back and forth. And finally, I saw the bus drive away. And then I felt like a heel. I felt like a heel the rest of the week. I loathed myself. I could have done something and I didn't. This poor woman. So, it was the same thing back in 2015 when I was prompted for weeks to throw my hat into this election, to actually run for president. Can you imagine? I mean, come on. I told the Lord it was a very, 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 very bad idea. I fought it. I argued with him for weeks. It was not a good fit. I had undergone 2 heart attacks 18 months earlier. I had 0 connections, 0 funds, and by every rational argument, I was not qualified. So every day, I tried to argue my way out of it. And then by nighttime, I thought, well, we put that one to rest. And then the next morning, every morning around 4 o'clock, God would spark an idea that made it seem like he was winning the argument, like it was the right thing to do. I knew the Constitution had been shelved, and the shadow government was in power. I knew there was a lot of kabuki theater on the surface. It was a bit like the Vatican, you know, the white pope and the black pope. The black pope pulls the strings. And you can't see him. You can only see what's visible to the eye. I knew America was ablaze and in free fall, and I wanted to do something, but come on, run for POTUS? Are you kidding me? One morning, God asked me, so if your house was ablaze, and you saw a guy with a fire hose try to put out the fire, would you want to know if the guy was certified, trained fireman? No, of course not. Okay, so that made sense, but I still bucked. There was no way on earth I was going to do that to myself. It was a very, very, very bad idea. So, I mean, just think about it. The press would have a field day with me. 5 marriages. Oh, it goes on and on. Not to mention, well, I won't mention it because in an autobiography I'll talk about it. But one morning after 2 weeks of this, the Lord woke me up in the morning with this question: do you love America? And boy, did he get me good. Of course I loved America. I love America more than life itself. Anyway, after that, he got me good. I figured, I can't win, He wants me to do this, okay, I'll go through the motions, whatever. So I filed papers with all the states that accept write-in candidates, and I think altogether there's 33 of them. My memory serves me right. And I put up a website, and I uploaded my policies on this website called ontheissues.org. They're still up there. And the signature plank was the secured online U.S. citizen account, which gives the power back to the people, empowers the people as the rightful employers and owners of their government, which I discuss in my booklet. You can find it at myamerica.win. Now, I said already, this is going to be a very difficult topic to talk about because I don't want to talk about it. But the Lord wants me to talk about it. You understand? I have fought and fought and fought. I have told him, put the idea away from me. I don't want to think about it. And the idea would come back with a vengeance. Every morning it would come back with a vengeance for the last 3-4 days. So I decided, okay, no, I don't know what I don't know, I'll do it. What the heck, I'll do it. So in today's podcast, I have been prompted to talk about myself, which I hate doing. I'm a very private person. That's another reason paying POTUS would not work. Too private a person. What's the point? Who cares who Paul Adams is? Okay, you're not listening to this program to find out who Paul Adams is. You want to hear about the news, what's going on in the world. I try to be as informative as possible, but I have to do this, okay? So bear with me. If you just hang up right now, I would not be offended. Okay, I understand. You don't have to listen to this. Believe me. On the other hand, come to think about it, you might find it inspirational, maybe. You might find it entertaining. It may trigger other ideas. Okay, so the theme of it is the things I thought I could never do, I end up doing best with God's help. And I hope my children maybe will listen to this podcast someday so they can know who their dad is or was. Because none of them really stay in touch with me. I have 6. 3 boys, 3 girls. The oldest is 40, youngest is 25. My oldest boy, he's a mechanical engineer. He writes emails once a year, if that. But the others had their minds poisoned. I don't have to tell you by who. You can take a wild guess. And I also have 6 grandkids, I'm told. I have not seen or hugged. So what I want to start talking about is the women in my life. Why is it that women gravitate to me? Why would I get married 5 times? Why would 3 of these women who married me after a very brief courtship, like 2 weeks after we met, we got married. Mind you, she knew my mother. Another one, after a couple of weeks, I can't even remember, it was a couple of weeks or a couple of months. But on the first day we met, we got married. Actually, it was a couple of months. Yeah. And then the third one, she wanted to get married right away. I said, honey, let's step back a little bit here. I had to fly over where she lived. And I said, why don't we just take our time? So we did that. We waited 24 hours and we got married. We took our time. I tell you. I was online one time, and this woman sent me a smiley face. That's all, just a smiley face. And I replied, I said, is this a proposal? Waited, she wrote back, heck yeah, are you game? I had a woman travel all the way from Florida after we had talked online for maybe a couple of months. And I wasn't divorced then. I was separated. She came all the way from Florida and she wanted to meet me and settle down. I said, honey, look, I can't marry you. And I'm still hitched. I can't be a bigamist. Oh no, she wanted to, stake her turf. It makes me wonder. And then we have another situation. I met this other woman online in a website called Plenty of Fish, POF. And immediately, just by the profile, just by her profile, her picture, I could detect she was very high class. And I wrote to her, I said, you have exquisite tastes, you're probably very classy, you come from a very upscale, high-end background. And she says, how can you tell? How do you know all this? And from that point on, every night she would call me and talk. We would talk and talk and talk. Long distance, we would talk. Of course, I called also a few times, but not, the ratio was more like 10-1. For every one of my phone calls, she called 10 times. And we got to know each other over the phone, and then she wanted to get married. She said, I'm ready. And it turned out, she showed me a video of her life online, and it turned out that she was a baroness, or she had been a baroness. We're talking, living in castles, not mansions, the whole 9 yards. And she wanted to marry me, sight unseen. She says, I don't want to meet before we get married. I want us to meet at the altar and get married. Do you see what I'm saying? Just little old me. I mean, on the average, I would get one proposal a year. The latest proposal has come from a woman who is 20 years older than me. I've known her since 2009. And she's told her family she would marry me in a New York minute. She's 20 years older, so she's 80. She'll be 84 this year. But she looks like vintage mid-60s model, She was going to be a showgirl at one time, and Jimmy Durante, who knew her father, told him, don't ruin her life. Don't let her get into that business. It will spoil her rotten. It will corrupt her. So she's a Valley girl. She went to school with Natalie Woods, and she has dated Marlon Brando. And now she has many, 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 many friends, men friends. And I told her, honey, look, I know it's going to be tough remembering all these names. I says, why don't you do this? Next time you meet somebody, just tell them, sweetie, look, I have a problem remembering names. How about I just give you a number? And so it's kind of an inside joke. I'm her number 84. So when I call her up, hi, this is 84 Colin. She came over on Christmas to have Christmas dinner with me. Wasn't that sweet? And she's coming on my birthday in March. Why me? I keep asking, why me? I met this other woman, wonderful woman, therapist. She has been awarded Best Mental Health Practitioner in Culver City 3 years in a row. Again, we met, after we met online, we met in person. We lived 10 minutes away from each other at the time. And on our first meeting, we sat at a bench, and the first thing I said to her, I said, so tell me all about your childhood. And it was an instant connection. We cracked up laughing for like 2-3 minutes. And man, did we click. Oh, did I love her heart. Oh, wow. And the funny thing is how we actually bumped into each other online, because I had changed my profile. I superimposed my face on Tarzan, and so I had Tarzan and the little chimp as my profile picture, okay? And one day I get this message from this person with a handle Jane 4, the number 4, Tarzan. And needless to say, it was very quick. We met within 2 weeks. And she happens to live within the old MGM studio lot next to the pond where they filmed the Tarzan movies. You say coincidence? You say fate? I've had way too many of these coincidences. Call them just coincidences. Let me give you another example. After my second marriage fell apart, I was separated, and I was laying on my bed, on my back, and it was like a telex coming into my head. It said, the next woman you will meet will love Jesus, will have a very nice shape, a great sense of humor, will really fall for you, and she'll have come from the fast lane. Got it? So a week later, I met her. I won't name her. Nice shape, great sense of humor. She loved Jesus. Really took to me. And I couldn't figure out the part about the fast lane. Until one day she confided that before she had become a Christian, she had been a stripper for 15 years. And she was the main event. And then I jumped up in the air and I said, yes! And she thought I was, a pervert. But I told her what happened. I ended up marrying her. Well, she kind of proposed, and I married her. So that's a little bit about women in my life. My work history. I started working at age 15 in a greeting card factory. I've worked just about every summer. Growing up, going to school, I've counted over 60 jobs in my lifetime. When I was in university, I still worked in the winters. I had one job, very good paying job, during the winter break, collecting garbage in a truck. Also, I've driven a lot of vehicles. I've been a taxi driver, a Greyhound bus driver, an ambulance driver, a military personnel driver, a truck driver, a dump truck driver, and I've been in all kinds of sales situations. Real estate, the first thing I did after I got out of university was sell real estate. And within 6 months, I had bought my first home on 10 acres, and then I've sold insurance, I've sold cars, I've sold stocks, I've sold investments to private investors, I've sold ideas, because my dad was in advertising. He worked as a advertising marketing director for one of the major airline companies. So I think I have that advertising gene in me. And my mother was an elementary school teacher. And she had her own radio show too for kids. God bless her. When I was younger, I read a lot of books on psychology in my teens. And I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And after the first year of pre-med, I knew it wasn't for me. My marks weren't high enough, and I didn't want to go through medical school. I switched over to arts to be a lawyer, to go into law school, and then after the second year I switched again to business administration and commerce, which I enjoyed, but I never graduated. I went on to sell real estate after the third year. And in the 1980s, I got into the fitness industry. First as a fitness instructor. I worked in gyms. I was always into fitness ever since I was 13. I got into bodybuilding, won a couple of bodybuilding shows at ages 17 and 18. So fitness has always been a big part of me. And after being an instructor, I opened up my own fitness school. Fitness instructor school was called the Fitness Bureau Inc., or FBI for short. And I also founded the Aerobics International Association. It was way ahead of its time. We're talking now back in 1980, 83, 84. I organized one of the first aerobics championships on stage. I was interviewed by a former Miss Universe on television 3 times. They had me on 3 times. I was also a personal trainer. I did fitness programs. I put together fitness programs for insurance companies. And after that stint, in 86, I got out of fitness and started looking at other horizons. And a little girl was kidnapped, and we heard about it in the news, and I thought, there's got to be an answer to this. We can't let little kids get kidnapped. How do we solve the problem? I teamed up with a friend of mine who had been a former NASA electronics engineer. We thought about it, and we decided we could track people, and we formed a company called Tracking Technology Incorporated. And back then there was no satellite tracking. We only had towers, communication towers to work with, by triangulating the signal. So it was a startup. I was the marketing guy. He was the operations guy. People were interested, but at the end of the day, we couldn't raise enough money, and I had to move on to greener pastures. It was just ahead of its time. So from there, that would take me into 1990 now. After 14 years of marriage, with no infidelities, it was a kind of a stale marriage. We had 6 kids. My wife one day decided she had enough of the marriage. She wanted out with 6 kids. So she left. Losing my children, because she moved something like 1,000 miles away to be near her parents. And losing the children to me was a huge loss. I had a nervous breakdown, crashed. Couldn't go on, suicidal, hospitalized for a week, went on to group therapy, couldn't work, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, on medications for a whole year. It was my dear dad who snapped me out of it slowly. God bless him. He passed away, but he would take me out for a walk. He said, "Come on, let's go out, get some fresh air. Let's go see the world a bit, have an ice cream, whatever." And then I started going to the temple. Being a Latter-day Saint, we have temples, and I started going every Friday. It made a huge difference. And in 1992, I became a stockbroker. I had been employed by a brokerage firm. They told me I had the voice. I mean, I was bringing in leads in the lead generation room. That's where they start you off. And I was bringing in 5 times what the average telemarketer was bringing in terms of leads. And these were all qualified leads. So when I became a stockbroker, I worked like the dickens. Oh, man. I was making more money in a month than I was making previously in 6 months. And then, I had to pay child support, and with the increase in pay, I quadrupled at one point. I quadrupled my child support voluntarily. Nobody asked me. Wife didn't ask me. Judge never asked me. I just did it because I felt I love my kids. And yet, I never got a chance to be with them, or, it was always long distance, always long distance. So, again, the things I thought I could never do, I end up doing best with God's help. And then 2008 came along, and you know what happened then, right? It hit me really hard. And by Christmas 2009, I was on the street. I mean, I was literally living on the street behind bushes. Christmas 2009, I found a pumpkin pie in a garbage bin, and that was my Christmas dinner. And it's kind of ironic because every Christmas for 4 or 5 years, I had been Santa Claus for an organization. I won't mention the organization. So by 2010, I managed to find work again. I became a contractor in investment relations. I was self-employed, raising capital. I was contracted by Daryl Quarles, the writer-director of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Family Ties. I raised money for him. He was going to produce a film. Then I was contracted by Richard Warren, a former investment manager for the World Bank, CIS region. And there's a video of him and me. I interviewed him for promotional purposes. And then I was contracted by Larry Namer to raise funds. He founded, I should say, Entertainment, and later he sold it to Comcast for $411 million, and he started up Meton Development Group. And one of my achievements in life was to convince Larry to upgrade his business plan. Going into China, I said, there's so many opportunities. I mean, Larry, come on. You're asking only for $5 million? How about if you ask for $100 million, and start a film division? I mean, a film can easily cost $50, $100 million, and you'll have change left over. So we changed the business plan, and then my company was called New Planet Group, or NPG for short, and it was starting to get noticed. I don't know how. I was on LinkedIn. I wasn't advertising. I don't know how I got noticed, but one day I got an email from a oil and gas company, and this company was like a startup, U.S. based. I looked at the management team. They all seemed like pros. They had their pedigrees. So they offered me an equity position in the company and the title of Managing Director, Global Projects, Investments, and Finance. Well, what did I know about oil and gas? Nothing. So I delved into it head first. On a quick study, before I knew it, I knew the industry. So I drafted business plans. We did not approach private investors. We were only looking for hedge funds, private equity companies. And I did that for 2 years while I was also running my own company, which kind of morphed into non-recourse loans for stocks trading outside the United States, not U.S.-based markets. And I made some good money there. I started helping out single mothers financially. I don't like to brag, You're not supposed to let your left hand know what your right hand's doing, right? But it was a way for me to give back. And I love little children. I love single mothers who are struggling. For example, I'll give you an example. This poor woman, she was working for a distribution company, film distribution company. And she was trying to raise funds, and she had 5 children, single. Her father was a multi-millionaire oil man, and he would not help her. He would not help her for some reason. Maybe he had helped her, and he had come to his limit. But anyway, she was down and out, and she lived on a home in Calabasas where it was sliding off the hill. It was condemned property, basically, but she still lived there. And then her car broke down, and this and that and the other, and her birthday, nobody even remembered her. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't let this girl, and she was about my daughter's age, when 20 years apart, maybe. Anyway, I helped her, I helped another one, with 2 kids, actually 3 kids, she had 3 kids, and she was destitute too. I've learned that it is far more enjoyable to be of service, especially after I took care of my dad. I took care of my dad for 3 years. I was basically his prime caregiver. He had Parkinson's, he had kidney problems, he had other problems, and he was getting on in his 70s. I had just come off my 3rd marriage, so I said, okay, Dad, I'm all here for you. It was the most amazing thing I ever done in my life, because Dad and I, we never saw eye to eye. Okay. Dad, even though he was pretty bright, he never owned a home. He always rented. He never owned a car. Can you believe that? Very conservative, very low-key. So we never saw eye to eye. I'm more of the extrovert, more of the risk-taker. And so when I went there to live with him, it was kind of tough. It was kind of tough being around him. But, after about a year and a half, we started just melding. We were getting closer and closer. He told me about his life. I told him about my life. And after 3 years, we had become the best of friends. The best of friends. And I miss him so much. Oh. And sometimes I kick myself for not having done more. I always think I should have done more. I could have done more. So, by 2012, I was doing okay, and bought 2 cars. I had Mercedes and an SUV, a little Jeep, and I was really getting out of shape then. I was like a doughboy, and the last thing I wanted was to get sick, majorly sick, like hospitalized, because I didn't want to pay for insurance. I didn't want to have insurance. And I figured if I was in fitness all these years, I should be able to go back to the gym and get myself in shape. And that's what I did. I went back in the gym, and within a year, to almost to the day, I went from a doughboy to, a stud muffin. I mean, I got the pictures to prove it. At age 61, I was the hardest training dude in the gym. I also did hiking, a lot of hiking, up hills, cut out fats out of my diet. By hard-working dude, I mean I would spend 2-3 hours in the gym. I was able to get my bench press up to 300 pounds for 8 repetitions. I was doing a bend over barbell rowing with 315 pounds for 5 reps. I was doing, and this is almost a month before the heart attack, I was doing dumbbell flies on a flat bench with 100-pound dumbbells for 5 reps. And I look back, the funny thing is now, I look back at all this and I say, what for? Who cares how much you can lift or what you look like? Why put yourself through all that? Who is this guy? I look at the pictures and I think, who is this guy? What happened to him? So there's been a lot of changes. The best thing that happened to me was having the heart attack. I mean, that sounds kind of strange, but it is the truth. Because it took me on a totally different trajectory. Totally changed my life around. And maybe you can take some inspiration from that. I'm sure a lot of people, have challenges. They don't know why things happen sometimes. God has a plan for each one of us. I know this like the air I breathe. Okay. See, in 2010, I had a car accident. I was in the passenger seat. The driver got hurt, not severely, but got hurt. I didn't get hurt at all, not even a scratch. So, cheated injury there. Then on my birthday in 2013, I was driving and I had stopped at a red light. I was going to make a left turn, and the light turned green, and instinctively I would move forward, but that day my foot froze. It froze on the brake pedal. And then about 5 seconds later, this car coming from the right, it just ran through the red light doing 60 miles an hour. I would have been toast. On my birthday it happened. So it makes you kind of think, right? And I think it happens to a lot of people. It's not just me. God has a plan. There's angels that are watching over us. But there's nothing that convinced me more that God was looking over my shoulder than in 2014, July, when I had the heart attack. It started gradually on Sunday, July 17. It was like a knot in my sternum. By Monday, it was more intense. On Tuesday, I decided I would spend the whole day at the Santa Monica Temple, the LDS Temple. And trust me when I tell you this, the pain completely went away all the time I was in the temple. I felt nothing. Then on Wednesday, it came back with a vengeance. The pain came back, and I couldn't believe this was happening to me. I thought, the exercising, the hiking. I mean, I looked in shape. I felt in shape. Mind you, I admit I was eating too many eggs and cheese, too much cholesterol perhaps. Anyway, the pains got so intense. By 11 o'clock, my friend told me, and he had a couple heart attacks himself, and he advised me to go to UCLA, Ronald Reagan, which would have been like a half-hour drive from where I live, because I lived in Culver City. And I says, it doesn't make sense. Why not just go to a county hospital nearby? It's only like 5 minutes drive. No, you can't go there. You got to go to the best. They have the best doctors. You need to take care of yourself. So, a friend drove me over to UCLA, and I told them I have no insurance, and they said, well, we can't refuse you. We can't refuse you. We have to take care of you. They couldn't turn me away. I started calculating in my head how much this was going to cost me, how much it was going to set me back. So they had me in the emergency room for like 4 hours, and I felt myself starting to fade out. You know, the nurses looked at me and they said, "Boy, you're sure looking pale." I said, "I don't feel good." I said, "Why don't you take a picture? I want to see what I look like." So they used my cell phone, and I didn't look good. I still have that picture. Long story short, they did an angioplasty, and it was bad news. Two of the main arteries, the RCA and the LDA, were 95% and 85% blocked. The right circumflex was 100% blocked. So they unblocked the circumflex. They told me we're going to have to do more work later on. We can't do it all at once. Or you can have a triple bypass. We can do a triple bypass. And they were really pushing to do a triple bypass. I said, nope, not ready for that. Let's do one step at a time with some medications and a couple more angioplasties. I'll be okay. So that's what happened. Altogether, I had 4 angioplasties within a period of 4 months. And so the first hospital visit, there I was, sedated. The next morning, this wonderful black woman, Michelle, from accounting, comes to see me. So, Mr. Adams, I heard you had a heart attack. I'm happy you're feeling better. How do you intend to pay for the procedure? I asked her, so what is the bill so far? What's the damage? She said, well, just your 2-day stay so far is $20,000. This is just for the accommodation. If you add the procedure, you'll be looking at upwards of $50,000 easily. And I thought, wow. And I have to come back for this again? So she asked me, are you a wage earner? I said, no, I'm self-employed. I get paid in lump sums, big commissions. Okay, she said, so you're not collecting a monthly wage, right? I said, no. I said, I guess I'll have to pay in installments as the money comes in the future. Okay, she said, well, I should tell you that 2 days ago on Monday, a new insurance policy came out. It's a 45-day temporary insurance policy that was rolled out in California only for people who are self-employed, like yourself. And you might qualify. And I said, I don't think I'll qualify. Believe me. She says, well, you got nothing to lose. Why don't you apply? It'll take about 10 minutes for me to input the information. I'll let you know. So I filled out the form, and she came back 10 minutes later, and she told me I qualified. Let me tell you. I reached up to her and I said, come over here, I want to give you a hug. And I gave her a big hug. And she said, this policy just came out on Monday, 2 days ago. And you are the third person to apply for it and to be accepted. And this hospital, UCLA Ronald Reagan, is the only and the first hospital in all of California to roll this insurance policy out. So, if you think this is not the hand of God guiding my life, this is just one of many, many, many examples. and I'm not the only one. There's other people out there. God lives. He has a purpose for each one of us. I don't know what mine is yet. I know I want to serve. I want to serve America. I love to serve America. I don't care so much about the money. I mean, when I put my hat in the ring, I said, oh, if I'm going to serve as president, I'm going to do it without pay or any kind of emoluments. No pensions, no nada. I'll work for $1 a year. I just want to serve America. That's it. Now, if you don't believe this story, what can I tell you? If you don't believe this story, how will you believe the incredible story that got me involved in politics? Because politics, folks, was the last thing on my mind. The last thing on my mind. I loathe politics with a passion. If somebody had told me, 5 years ago, that I would be involved in politics and I would be running for president, I would tell him, buddy, you need to check yourself into rehab right now, okay? There's something very disturbing about you. It's something that's really out of whack. You need to get yourself checked out. Oh, but if I tell you the story how it all led to where I'm at now, you'd think, wow. Yeah, that's for another time. See, if I didn't have the heart attack in 2014, I would still be doing my thing. You know, doing my business. And also, I was ready to roll out a new company. I was going to start off a high-end men's clothing line. And I'm talking high-end, above and beyond Armani and Gucci, okay? Just the next level. I had the business plan all figured out. It's still in my computer. I had the website designed. I design everything, by the way. I design my websites, everything. I don't leave anything to chance. It's got music in it. Oh, you should hear the music. When a lady looks at that website, she automatically falls in love with me. Okay? There's no going back. So that's why I don't show it. Because I have a new girlfriend now. And her name is America. And I think about her day and night, and I think about her president day and night, and I think about where we're at in the world. And then they put me on medications after that. You know, I was on medications for a whole year. I was on metoprolol, amlodipine, Plavix, Crestor, and aspirin. Do you have any idea what those drugs do to you? You know, the side effects they do to your brain, energy. You get confused, you have no energy, your heart is thumping like it's going to bust out of your chest cavity. And after a year of that, I said, okay, enough is enough. I'm okay now. I got off the meds. And now I can walk. I can walk till the cows come home, but no more gym, no more heavy lifting, no more drama. I can't do drama. Yeah, that affects the ticker. So there I was by New Year's Day 2015. Funds were exhausted, and I landed back on the street, except this time, you know, I had sold my Mercedes, my pride and joy, and I stepped out of my small rental and lived in my SUV. I don't need any offers, folks. I've already been offered, okay? I don't need any offers, any accommodation. Thank you very much. See, my pride also needed this. My pride, oh, my pride. Do you have any idea what it does to you, to your ego, to go from, you know, way up high to way down low? to be living 2 years in a vehicle. And I joke about this. I say to people, ever since now that I've become the paragon of humility and have arrived at the zenith of self-effacement and have reached the apogee of self-examination, I have absolutely no problems with my ego. Okay, yeah, right. Only when I talk about it, and then it pokes its ugly little head. But we all need a bit of ego. We all need to feel a sense of self-worth, but not to the point where it consumes us, where we need constant reinforcement, constant stroking of the ego. Oh my gosh. Oh. And now I think until and unless every veteran has a roof over their head, I'm going to be living in my car. I'm very happy where I am. Have a small pension coming in. I'm good to go. So when God throws you a challenge, He just wants you to stretch a little bit, make you see what really matters. Roll with it. They say, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. And on that note, on this President's Day 2017, God bless America, and God bless our dear President Trump.